Good morning, everybody who's joining our webinar today. Thank you for being with us. We'll just wait one more minute as people are still joining us. Okay, it looks like we have pretty much everyone here. Some people coming in, but let's kick off. Again, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today for this Taxback International webinar. Before we kick off, I'd first like to mention two house rules. First, the webinar is being recorded and you'll receive the recording later after we finished, either later today or tomorrow. And secondly, if you have any questions for Mag Swan, then please enter them into the Q&A section of the webinar and we'll get them answered as much as possible. Having said that, a brief introduction of myself. I'm Matthijs Egger. I'm a market advisor at Enterprise Ireland in the Benelux team, and I'm based in Amsterdam. Enterprise Ireland is Ireland's national export agency, so our mission really is to support Irish businesses to grow, innovate, and to reach global markets. We have a global coverage with a network of about 40 offices worldwide. And financial services and fintech really is an important sector for Ireland, both domestically, but also in terms of exports. And Taxback is really one of the experienced and key players in the Irish fintech ecosystem. They have a wide network of clients globally and also very good representation in the Netherlands and the surrounding countries. But I'll let Mag introduce Taxback International a little bit further. So Mag, please go ahead. Could you just introduce yourself?
Thank you, Matthijs, and thank you very much for joining the webinar with us today. My name is Mag Swan, and I am responsible for the Benelux region at Taxback International. As we move further down the slides, I will discuss more about what Taxback do and what we can do for your company.
Thank you. The objectives for today, first, to learn about the best practices for reclaiming VAT. Second, how to simplify your VAT reclaim with global expertise and automated technology provided by Taxback. Third, to build a culture of continuous improvement. Fourth, an end-to-end suite of VAT reclaim services. And five, a showcase to prove the value of Taxback International solutions.
Great, thank you. So a bit about Taxback International. So Taxback International specialize in VAT reclaim, VAT consultancy, and VAT compliance. We have been providing VAT services for over 20 years. We have offices all over the world. We have over 12,500 clients who use our services for VAT reclaim, VAT consultancy, and VAT compliance. We are very conscious that a lot of companies are concerned about security and GDPR compliance, and we'd like to offer reassurance that we are a risk-free solution. We are fully secure. We are ISO 9001 and ISO 27001 certified. We guarantee compliance in everything that we do. So we provide 100% indemnification on all of the work that we carry out. That means that we accept responsibility and liability, so there is zero risk to your company. It is a guaranteed compliance solution. We are also financially regulated to banking standards in over 50 different countries. But data security is our top priority. Here is a look at some of the products that we offer at Taxback International. VAT is complex, but we make it simple for you. When we look at the wide variety of solutions that we offer, it covers foreign VAT recovery, which is an employee traveling from one country to another, domestic VAT, which is your local travel within your country. So someone in Den Bosch traveling to Amsterdam. We also offer VAT compliance. So we not only can do the VAT reclaim, but we can also file your VAT returns for you. We also can do what we call a VAT health check. So if you're currently reclaiming VAT in-house yourself, we can take a look at your data, we can do a comparison, and we can identify if you're maybe underclaiming or overclaiming to provide you with the real insights on exactly how your current process is working. We also have the capability to meet all of the new VAT reclaim regulations. So the VAT world is constantly changing. The legislation is changing, the regulation is changing, and there are also the VAT that you can deduct or reclaim on certain expense types varies from time to time. We have the capability and the technology in-house to deal with all the new electronic measures that are coming in when we speak about VAT reclaim. As an example, making tax digital in the UK, the SII reporting in Spain, the new electronic reporting required in Italy, and all SAFT in Poland is another one, and many, many more. We also have a number of products that are specific to the US market. So the tax deduction on meals and entertainment and sales and used taxes. We will discuss some of these products as we move further down the presentation. Foreign VAT reclaim. As I explained a moment ago, it's when you have an employee that travels from one country to another. Legally, you are entitled to reclaim the VAT on these expenses. There are 3 critical deadlines that you need to be aware of. So when we speak about foreign VAT, in most countries, you can go back only 1 year to reclaim foreign VAT. So we have a June deadline. June deadline is concerned with non-EU countries recovering VAT from an EU country, or the other way around. The deadline for recovering the VAT on that is June 30th and covers the previous annual year, so January to December. Then we have the September deadline, and this is concerned with EU countries traveling to other EU countries. It's referred to as the 8th EU directive. So the non-EU country directive is called the 13th EU directive. So when we talk about September deadline, it's an EU country traveling to another EU country, and it covers the previous year, so January to December. When we look at December deadline, this is specific to the UK. So it's when you have a country traveling, reclaiming VAT from the UK. The deadline is different. It is December 31st. When you have an entity that is in another country and they're traveling into the Netherlands, they are entitled to go back 5 years. So say, for example, if you have an entity in Germany and they have employees that are traveling to the Netherlands, if they have never reclaimed VAT on that in the past, you are entitled to go back 5 years. And this can yield a significant amount of money for companies. When we talk about domestic VAT, the great news is that you can go back multiple years if you have not reclaimed in the past. Domestic VAT is concerned with an employee traveling within their home country and incurring expenses, hotels, meals, trains, telecoms, all the expenses associated with business activities. And like I said, in most countries, you can make a retrospective claim. So you can go back 5 years in the Netherlands, it's 3 years in Belgium, 4 years in the UK. So you can make a retrospective claim. This can have a significant impact on your bottom line because it's a deductible amount and it can be offset against your liability. In effect, it reduces the amount of money that you owe to the tax office and therefore increases your cash flow. Again, just to delve further on the backdated opportunity, you can see the countries at the bottom. There is a list of the different countries and the years that you can go back. Like I said, it can be a significant revenue generator and really reduce the amount of money that you owe to the tax office. In some cases, it can put you in a credit situation. So in effect, every month or every quarter, depending on your filing period, it means that you will owe less money, and in some cases, no money for a couple of months. VAT reclaim on AP can account, so the VAT paid on accounts payable invoices can account for up to 25% of business costs on. It can cover things like tooling, professional services, events, import tax. Typically, when we talk about VAT on AP invoices, there are two types of VAT reclaim. Number one is where we go to the tax office and reclaim the VAT. Number two is where the supplier has incorrectly charged you VAT on the invoice. So in line with the reverse charge mechanism, typically EU invoices to other EU countries should not have VAT applied. But we know in our experience that in our research, 60% of the time the VAT is incorrectly charged, purely because companies or people lack the expertise to know when VAT should be applied, when it should not be applied. We have the expertise, we will review your invoice, and we can determine how to recover that VAT. Not only do we offer VAT reclaim, but we also offer a full compliance service. And that really adds to the strength of our offering. For example, if we were to do a backdated project for domestic VAT, in some countries, you would have to file an amended return. So for example, in the Netherlands, you can include old input VAT into a current return, but it must be lower than 1,000 euros. If it's more, you do need to file an amended return. And because we have the expertise in-house, we can advise you and support you on how to manage that to make sure that you are maximizing your reclaim in a completely compliant manner. As well as VAT reclaim, we also offer VAT compliance. So on a monthly basis, we will file, or a quarterly basis, depending on your periodic returns, we would file the VAT returns for you. So what a lot of companies like to completely outsource the whole process. Again, in relation to the compliance solution, there are many different areas when we talk about VAT compliance. So we can look after VAT registrations globally across all countries. We manage the Interstat and EC sales listings. And we also offer VAT consultancy services. So in some countries, there can be some quite complex areas, especially when we're talking about AP invoices, accounts payable, where the liability lies, are we required to VAT register? We have all that expertise in-house. So in effect, we never need to look outside of our organization for advice on how to treat a particular situation. Now, let's have a look at a working example. So in our experience, a lot of companies do not deduct or reclaim VAT because it's deemed that there's small amounts. So there can be thousands of invoices with really small amounts of VAT. And sometimes it doesn't make economic sense for a company to reclaim VAT looking at a small receipt for coffee or for a meal or for a train or for a taxi. But all of these amounts add up to a significant amount of money. And this is where we come in. We have the expertise and we have the technology to go after every single penny. So this is a working example. If you take into consideration 30 business travelers taking just 3 trips a year with the average trip of 340 euros, you can see that there is a VAT reclaim opportunity to your organization of 30,600 euros. I think you'll agree it's a significant amount of money. When we talk about what the potential is or what the VAT reclaim opportunity is, again, in our experience, you are looking at, when you're talking about your EU travel spend, it's typically 20% of that spend is what you are entitled to reclaim in VAT. When we look at the bigger picture, the global structure of a company, so taking into account your America, your Australia, your Asia, it's typically 4% of the global travel spend. So what allows us to do what we do so effectively? Our technology is based on machine learning and artificial intelligence principles. So in effect, our technology is able to read, understand exactly what you're entitled to reclaim. How does it work? First, we have VAT Connect integration. This is where we actually pull your data in. Secondly, we have VAT Connect intelligence. This is where we apply the rules and regulations across every single country in the world, so we can determine what is eligible for reclaim, what is not eligible for reclaim. At this stage, we also read your invoices and receipts. So is this invoice compliant? Does it meet the legal requirements and obligations in this specific country to reclaim the VAT when we talk about foreign VAT, or to deduct the VAT when we talk about domestic VAT? If the invoice is deemed compliant, it will go through to our audit team. If the invoice is eligible, if the expense is eligible, but the invoice is not compliant, this will go to our exceptions queue, where we will then reach out to the vendor to ask to get the invoice corrected so that we can include it in the claim. Again, it is important to know that because we accept the liability and responsibility for all of our work, we guarantee that this is a completely compliant solution. And anything that is included in your claim is completely compliant, and we will stand over it with the tax office. In 2018, we processed over 1 billion transactions. So this will give you some kind of indication into just how intelligent our machine is, let's say. And we're constantly educating it. So for example, if we identify if the technology does not accept an invoice, it may go to an exceptions queue, where one of our auditors again will review that invoice to see is it compliant and understand why the technology did not accept it. We will then feed that information back into our technology, so we are constantly learning and updating it. About 8% of transactions that are processed will go to an exceptions queue. The rest will be automatically validated. When it comes to foreign VAT, we file the claim on your behalf, we answer any questions in relation to the claim, and typically between 3 to 6 months from the date that we file the claim, you will get your refund. There are no upfront fees associated with the project because we don't charge our fee until you get your money back. Our fee is a percentage of what we successfully get back for your company. So it's in our interest to get as much money as we can for your company, but also in a completely compliant way. When we speak about domestic VAT, we provide you with a report that has the deductible amount. The controller in each entity is only required to take this amount, to put it into their VAT return, and then they realize this credit. So the amount that we've presented in the report reduces their liability for that period. The domestic VAT report will have a list of every single invoice that we have included in the claim, and it will also have all the country-specific requirements. So how quick is it to implement a VAT reclaim project with Taxback International? It's very, very simple, and there are no upfront fees associated with it. The first stage of the process is where we will provide for you a free review. We will look at your data, we will analyze it, we will determine what's eligible, and we will provide you with a detailed report to show you exactly how much money you can recover for each entity and on each expense type. That will be classed as foreign and domestic. And this will help you to determine whether the project is worth pursuing. So how much money will you generate from the project? Step 2 is where we then can get your data through various ways. So we have links with most of the expense management systems. We can use credit card data, we can use Excel data. So really all we need is your data and the invoices that match those expense notes. Step 3 is the legal entity structure. So what we're looking for here is just to know the legal footprint of your company. It's very important to know if you have a foreign VAT registration. As an example, if the Netherlands entity has a foreign VAT registration, say in Belgium, that would be classed as a domestic VAT reclaim for employees in the Netherlands traveling to Belgium. If there's a foreign registration there, that would be domestic. However, if the Netherlands do not have a foreign VAT registration in Belgium, that would then be classed as a foreign VAT claim. So that's why this piece is so important. Step 4 is where all we need is a signature on various forms that just proves that you are authorizing us as your tax reclaim agent. So all the forms are populated, all in the local language, all is required as a signature, and then we do absolutely all the rest. Step 5, like I've explained a moment ago, is where, when it comes to foreign VAT, we file the claim, follow through until you get your money, and then when we talk about domestic VAT, we provide you with the report that has the deductible amount. You take that amount, you input it into your VAT return, and you realize that the credit. So in effect, your liability is reduced by the amount that we've presented in the report. We are also very, very conscious that VAT is a very, very complex setup. And whilst we take over the project and we do all the work, we know that it's important that you have visibility through every single step of our process. So from the moment that we start our work, you will be able to see when we've pulled the data in, what we are auditing, what has been submitted to the tax office, what has been approved, what's pending, what's been rejected. You also have full visibility in relation to your compliancy rates. So we will be able to explain to you, this is how much money you've reclaimed, but more importantly, this is how much money you have lost, and here are the reasons why. One of the biggest areas that companies lose VAT is by accepting credit card receipts as a valid document for VAT reclaim or VAT deductibility. It's not a valid document, it's not compliant because it does not state exactly what was purchased during that transaction. And that's essential for us to understand whether it's a deductible amount. It's also a very, very secure site. So we can activate SSO, so single sign-on access. We can restrict access so that HQ can see everybody's claims, but the countries themselves are restricted to view their own claims. We can also provide out of scope information. So if you decide to sign up and you have 10, 20 different entities or 5 different entities, and you decide, let's bring 2 of them into scope now, and then we will be able to show you, okay, these 3 countries are not currently in the scope of the project, but here is the opportunity size. So we give you indicators to show you how much money is left there that you can still go after. Another thing that's really important to note, I suppose, is on the portal there is the ability to view different currencies and also different languages. So internally, I think we speak about maybe over 20 different languages in our team, which is absolutely essential when it comes to filing claims and negotiating with the various tax offices. Our continuous improvement program is something that we are very, very proud of. We work very, very closely with our customers to ensure that year on year, you are always organically increasing your VAT reclaim. By giving you insights on where you are losing VAT and what you can do to reclaim it, we know that in year 2, in our experience, you will increase the amount of VAT that you're reclaiming by up to 20%. And this is a working example of one of our clients, Electrolux, who have agreed for us to share this information with you. And I think it speaks for itself. So before they start working with Taxback versus when they start working with Taxback. Taxback also have a numerous amount of partners that we work with on a regular basis. So you will see here, we will work with travel management companies, expense management companies. We also work with a lot of financial institutions, credit card providers. And interestingly, when you look at the tax and compliance partners that we also work with, it's interesting because in-house they may not have, again, the technology to do what we do so effectively. And it doesn't make sense to have somebody to sit down and look at like tens of thousands of invoices to see maybe 1/3 of them are eligible for reclaim or deductibility, and then maybe only half of those invoices are compliant. So this is what we do so effectively. Our technology and our expertise combined help us to provide a thorough, compliant solution where you are guaranteed to maximize your reclaim. So I would like to wrap up by summarizing what I have discussed throughout the presentation. Why use Taxback International? Why do over 12,000 clients use us for their VAT reclaim and their VAT compliance services? First of all, it is a maximized reclaim. Your money is our money, so we will go after every penny that we can to ensure that you are getting the most back from your project. Guaranteed compliance and indemnification. We accept the liability and the responsibility, so there is absolutely zero risk to your company. You know that we will be acting in a completely compliant manner. We have over 20 years experience when it comes to VAT reclaim and VAT compliance. Again, we speak over 20 different languages. And the fact that we not only have the VAT reclaim, but also the VAT compliance and the VAT consultancy means that we have all the expertise that we need in-house. Our machine learning and artificial intelligence technology is what helps us to do what we do so effectively. And again, really important is security. As I explained at the very beginning of the presentation, we are ISO certified, GDPR compliant, and also regulated to banking standards in over 50 different countries. So what is the next step? I would ask that if you have any questions on anything that I've discussed throughout the presentation, or you would like more information, please send me an email, give me a call. I'm more than happy to speak with you on a one-on-one basis. If you would like to see a demonstration of our analytics portal to give you visibility of the control that you would have should you decide to use us, I would love the opportunity to do so. The next step really is a free analysis. So let's have a look at your data, let us analyze it, and let us show you exactly how much money that you can generate from such a project. If this is something that you're doing yourself internally, you may look for a free benchmark. So let's do a benchmark on 2019 to see what we have reclaimed versus what Taxback have identified as being eligible to reclaim. And this can be a great exercise just to do a benchmark against your current processes internally. So that's the end of the presentation. I'd like to thank you all very, very much for your time today. And I will ask Matthias, do we have any questions that have come in throughout the presentation, Matthias?
First of all, thank you, Mag, for this great presentation. I think very clearly explained which challenges you address and the fantastic solutions in place to solve those challenges. It's always quite stunning to me how many companies out there are simply just losing money because they're not aware about the eligible VAT reclaims, or they don't have the right systems or processes in place to manage them. And I know how many of your clients really appreciate your user-friendly, smart and efficient solutions to solve those issues. So thanks a lot. Indeed, we had a few questions coming in the Q&A section. There's one here. I know that in our company, we reclaim VAT on some expenses, but not all of them, and not really consistently. How would you approach that situation?
Okay, this is a really good question. And this is something we come up against a lot. So companies will typically say, you know, the general consensus with finance and tax is, if in doubt, let's leave it out. because we're dealing with such small amounts of money that it just doesn't make economic sense to have a controller or a financial director or even a tax director to look at these small receipts with maybe €2 of VAT, 50 cents of VAT. But all this money adds up to a significant amount, and this is where we come in. When we first start working with companies, they may say, well, Mag, I reclaim VAT on hotels maybe because they're the biggest expense and they're easiest to do, but all the rest of it we don't bother with because it's just too small. And again, this is where we come in. So what we can do is, again, it depends on, you know, the system that you're using, but typically we can work around that. So we will work with you to identify what the opportunity is, what you've already reclaimed, and then we can look at what's not being reclaimed and we can work with that. So that's quite easy to do. And I would say, absolutely, contact me directly. Let's have a look at your data. Let's have a look at what you've done, what you're doing, and we can discuss how to pick up the rest of that. Remember, we can go back 5 years in the Netherlands. It can generate a significant amount of money, which in these times especially, you know, new money is always welcome.
Thank you, Mag. Actually, you briefly touched upon the systems and the integration with Taxback International solutions. There was another question coming in. We currently have a very manual process that was developed in-house, so we do not use an expense management system. Can you integrate and work with this?
Absolutely. Another great question, and something that's a lot more common than you may think. You know, people are working with spreadsheets. I have clients that literally send me their boxes. So say for September deadline, I have a number of clients that would have literally sent me all of their boxes of invoices for 2019. We'll audit them and we'll send them back. So the answer to that question is absolutely. If you're working with Excel, if you have a company corporate card, we can work with almost any kind of data. So again, I would say absolutely contact me, reach out, and we will have a look at the data and provide you with the free estimation.
Thanks. Another one, do you submit the refund request to the tax offices on our behalf, or do we submit them?
Yes. So this is again why a lot of companies, when we talk about foreign VAT in particular, they just don't reclaim anything because it can be very time consuming. There's issues when we look at the local languages. So obviously if you're dealing with tax offices, you communicate in their language. And I know that some clients I have worked with, they used to do it, but they gave up because there was too many questions. The other thing you'll find is that even companies or the tax offices state in legislation what is required to reclaim foreign VAT. We know from our years of experience that the companies or the tax offices will typically ask for additional information. So we file the foreign VAT claim on your behalf in all of the various tax offices, and we follow through until that is approved. And we don't charge until you actually get your money back in the bank, so 3 to 6 months. So to answer the question, we do the filing on your behalf. We own the entire process.
Okay, and yeah, you also briefly touched on that. A very short question, what are the fees?
A good one, always asked. So typically we have a better understanding of quoting exact fees when we have visibility of what your opportunity is. So when we have a look at the data, we conduct the free review and give you the really detailed analysis on the opportunity. And typically then that's when we would discuss fees. But to give you a range, you are looking anywhere between maybe 18 to 25%. And again, that really is dependent on the size of your company, the opportunity, the type of expense types. Is it foreign? Is it domestic? Is it accounts payable? So there are a lot of different parameters around that. But to answer the question, between 18 and 25% typically.
All right. There's a few more questions, but I would suggest for time's sake that we answer those questions offline. Thank you everybody for attending. Thank you very much, Mag, for giving the presentation. And maybe you'd like to spend a few last words for the audience who joined us today And thanks again. Great presentation.
Great. Thank you, Matthias. Really appreciate it. So I'll just quickly wrap up and say I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. I'd like to say that I work with a lot of companies in the Benelux region, in the Netherlands in particular. I'm very experienced when it comes to rules, regulations. I'm more than happy to speak individually to provide a more thorough presentation on the exact processes, to discuss country-specific nuances, to answer any questions or any reservations or concerns that you may have about the project. There's absolutely no obligation to proceed should we carry out the free analysis. So please take the time to reach out to me after the call, email me, give me a call, pick the phone up, and I'm more than happy to answer any of the questions that I can.
Thank you, Mag, and thank you everybody for joining. And as mentioned before, you'll receive the recording shortly. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.